it's not just about one feature, one capability, one product, but it's really that orchestration and synergy amongst all the products that is the true value prop for enterprises or individuals trying to construct and create at the speed of thought.
One of the concepts over there is agentic workflows and multi-agent architectures
Yeah.
where you're stringing together a bunch of AIs to achieve some end-to-end workflow. And what you're describing sounds very analogous of trying to have that continual feedback loop every single step through the entire process, including that self-referential aspect at the end of we generate data. Based on that data, let's have insights. Based on that insights, let's feed it back into the machine and just keep getting better and better with the iterations.
Yeah, I'm so happy you brought that up. That is almost that third ring of how it's really transforming. I think the gap between product and marketing is getting compressed, almost becoming one in the same.
Mhm.
Where quite often there's been a great somewhat of a disconnect if you look at like automotive car simulators in terms of build your own car. Sometimes that data doesn't get propagated back to the marketing. These are the colors, the fabrics, in terms of the data. And so now we're starting to see this bi-directional transfer of data between the product and the marketing, which I think is really indicative of kind of the underlining value of Gen AI is it's going to speed everything up and bring things closer together for a more intelligent experience, whether it be on the marketing side or product side.
Do you see a difference between, I guess, mainstream Gen AI versus image generation AI? And I guess by mainstream, I think of ChatGPT, right? That's kind of the most
Yeah.
common. When we hear Gen AI, we think ChatGPT and chatbots and all that stuff. Do you see them as kind of two separate forks that are going to go on their own journeys? Or do you see them as just different modalities of the same exact thing that are going to kind of stay in lockstep in terms of growth, iteration over time?
Yeah. I would offer it. There's probably not a right or wrong, and there's multiple perspectives on it. We tend to think of it in terms of initially four or five horizons. The first is generative images, generative video. We recently just announced generative 3D, generative
Oh,
design,
interesting.
design at some point, and then code and music and voice. So there's a number of different horizons to the capabilities of generatives. More specific to your question, I think what we tend to gravitate back towards is it's not just about one feature, one capability, one product, but it's really that orchestration and synergy amongst all the products that is the true value prop for enterprises or individuals trying to construct and create at the speed of thought.
I think Adobe is actually a really interesting company in this space because you do touch all those things, right? You're not just Google where you focus on search and kind of text-based software products, and you're not ChatGPT and OpenAI where it's building better models, but you are building the tools that create things, and it's
Yeah,
not just one tool. You're not Cursor just building a text editor for developers. You're building this entire suite of tools that empower people to build technology
yeah,
designs, whatever. So
yeah.
it's a really interesting use case because, like you said, it's that holistic approach to how do we bring knowledge from each of these different tools, these different spaces of image to video to design to and orchestrate all of them together to achieve that outcome. That's fascinating.
In many ways, that goes back to your earlier point about multi-agents, intelligence, and collective intelligence. How can you get that shareability of insights not only from your customer base but from the creation standpoint as well? So that's something we're heavily focused on. And you can see indications of that in some of our flagship products where the system has embedded intelligence into it, where it understands the workflow. It's making some predictive analyses of what that workflow you're trying to achieve, And if there's a faster way, a faster route uh, to creation, you'll get a little pop up and you get some suggestions as well. And so that was one of the big learnings for us along this journey the last couple of years. Is in many ways we, from a product standpoint, we would ask ourselves throughout the product creation stage, have we taken away all of the speed bumps for the end user to adopt and learn this new product or tool? And now with Gen AI, we've almost inversed that to ask ourselves, have we embedded enough intelligence into the system to learn the user? And so it's really put the
Mhm.
onus now on the product and the product designer to have that awareness of embedding intelligence into the product.
What kind of data are you making these decisions on
Yeah,
when compared
a
to the
lot
past?
of like click data, flow data, and then you can extract that into more anonymized patterns and workflow suggestions and multi solution predictions as well.
And do you see a high level of adoption? Because, when Gen AI from an image perspective first came out, there was a lot of talk, and I have friends that are artists that use Photoshop every day and use these tools, and there's a lot of worry and fear about the death of the artist, and this is going to replace us, and this is not good, and it's stealing IP, which is obviously a very serious thing to figure out as we're evolving with these times. But I feel like it's less talked about now. So talk about maybe the artist perspective and adoption from that lens.
Yeah, it's a great point. You can imagine it was a heavily discussed topic internally at Adobe. If we're the company or one of the companies that really champions human creativity, now we're suggesting and offering creative tools seemingly. And so we had the tech for many months before we released it, and we wanted to get a number of internal frameworks in place. One specifically was our ethical AI approach, and we've got a number of strategic pillars that makes up that framework. The first one being accountability. As I mentioned earlier, we only train it on images or IP that we own. And so that allows our end customers, whether big or small, to have a peace of mind that everything is 100% indemnified. So it's industrial strength. It's ready to use from a commercial standpoint. Number two is we don't train off of other artists or train off of the user's data or creation. And so we've got a very kind of responsible approach in that way. We also offer contributors to opt in or opt out if they want um, their content to be trained off of, which indicates a newer opportunity in terms of the creator economy that this Gen AI is really flourishing and developing, where now
Wait, can
people.
can you
Yeah,
explain the
yeah.
yeah, sorry, just the creator economy aspect? Yeah.
Yeah, so now, with Adobe Stock, you can opt in if you're a contributor to upload your piece of content, and if you opt in, you get rewarded or you get monetized off of that contribution, or if you don't want it, you can opt out of that opportunity. And so I
That's
think that really signals how it's creating much like the mobile area era created, the app economy and, so on. So we're starting to see people can, start to monetize their creations in new ways that didn't really exist before.
If you enjoyed that clip, there is much more of that conversation. Make sure to check out the full interview where we get into so much more. And if it was helpful, click the like and subscribe button. If not, no worries. Hopefully, I'll convince you next time. I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy wherever you are.